What's up, y'all? AJ here, back again with another reaction video. Today's video is by Sunday Nobody, hiding handsome Squidward under the sea. Now, I know this is from a scene in SpongeBob, and Squidward's face kind of became like a meme, but it's just like, when I seen this thumbnail of this video, I'm just like, what is the purpose of doing this? Like, people ain't gonna never let handsome Squidward die. Like, this been going on for so long. So let's see what this video is about and see the nonsense that this person does.
This I recreated an ancient Greek statue, but put Squidward's face on it from SpongeBob, then flew to Greece and brought it to the Mediterranean Sea and put it at the bottom of the ocean for future archaeologists to find and be confused by. So the original discus thrower statue is lost to history. No one knows what happened to it. We only know about it through the Roman replicas that survived. And the original statue is thought to be lost somewhere in the Athenian Empire around 1500 years ago. It was found to be between $100 and $500 million. So what I did was I did a picture of myself, then found a picture of a student ID from my local university and photoshopped my face on it and my name, Sunday Nobody, and said that I was an art student. Then I went and took that Photoshop file and I printed it out on my ID printer and made a fake student ID. Then I went to the local university bookstore and picked up a bunch of student apparel. I'm 31 years old, but I thought I could sneak onto campus and find a chemical oceanography professor to ask them what would happen if I dropped a sculpture to the bottom of the ocean. Wrong building. You know, if this is the Ocean Science Building? No. Go down east. Wrong building again. It's that building. I think I found a way in. I need to find the professor's lab. Hi. Hi. I had a question I was hoping you could maybe help me with. I'm not in one of your classes. What are the things that I need to be thinking about? Is bronze, is it going to like leach heavy metals into the ocean?
So it's like copper. Copper is invincible. Toxic, really high concentrations. Toxic, really high.
Did he really have to do all of that? As far as like making the fake ID and putting on these clothes, like he could have just asked him a question. He could have just went to the internet and looked it up and did some research. I feel like that was excessive.
Concentrations. So here's the company.
But maybe he did all this for the video.
It's all 100 million outside of it. This says 4 times 2 minus 1 times 10 minus 4 times 5 like I'm not too wise about dropping a punk of bronze foundation floor somewhere from like an environmental perspective, but my follow-up to that is that I want someone to improve law. So after I got the approval of the scientist, I found a public domain 3D model online of the discus thrower and also of Squidward, and then I attached the two and put a fig leaf over his manhood. Then I modeled up a base for the sculpture to stand on. Ran into an issue though where I needed to figure out a way to attach the head and the neck seamlessly, so I hired a 3D modeler named Haptish, and he was able to draw the geometry.
My question is, how is he about to make this sculpture so life-size? Because he's obviously not about to do this by himself. I wouldn't think that he has the skills to do this because he's just a YouTuber. Unless he commonly makes sculptures all the time.
The next step was to figure out a way to actually make this thing real from a digital file, and for this I needed to find a foundry, and foundries are the people that make sculptures like this out of molten bronze. So I found a foundry in the US, but they quoted me $71,000.
Whoa.
So I went online and I found this woman named Echo Fan who said that she worked for a foundry in China called Sintuo Sculpture Company. She said instead of $71,000 she could do for $4,000. And then she convinced me, since it was so affordable, I should really buy two, and I should put one underwater and put one above ground. And then she was like, well, I mean, you're still saving a lot of money, so why don't you also buy 230 small guys? And I was like, wow, that's a good idea. And then she was like, well, shipping's $8,300, so why don't you just send me $24,956?
Girl.
And Sintuo in Chinese translates to trust, and so I sent them around 25 grand, and then I didn't hear anything from them. And then a bit later, I got these videos, and they also sent me the videos of the small guys being made, and so then I had the above ground sculpture and the small.
Dang, they was on it like clockwork. They was gonna get them.
guys I had shipped to my studio in the US.
They was gonna get that money and get that shit done.
At this point, I needed to figure out where I was going to actually install the underwater one in Greece, but I had no idea where I was going to do that, and I just knew that I wanted it to be somewhere within the old Athenian Empire where the original discus thrower was lost, but I didn't know anyone in Greece, so I just reached out to people on my Instagram and said, does anyone live in Greece and own a boat and want to help me with an art project? And eventually a Greek insider reached out to me and said that I could ship the underwater sculpture from China to his apartment in Greece, and he would help install. So Natty, who's my studio hand, and I flew from the US to Greece, and we just prayed that the sculpture would be there. And it was. So we unwrapped it and looked at it and it looked great, but the one issue was we couldn't move it. It was super heavy.
See, that was my next question, is how are they going to move this, and how are they going to move it without breaking it? And if they break it, what happens next? Because they only have 2 of these life-size ones. That's all they have.
Get those lifting straps underneath it and see if you can lift it. So we got these furniture moving lifting straps that were each rated to 1,000 pounds, and with those we were able to
This is so risky.
still not move it. It was still too heavy. We could only move it like a foot. So we got a liftgate truck. Then we drove it through the tight streets.
You good on this side?
And I went back and picked up the sculpture with a forklift. Then we tied the sculpture down so that it wouldn't move during transport. For the next part, we need to figure out how we're actually going to install this thing in the ocean. And so we picked up a bunch of these floating boat ball things, and we filled them up with air at a Greek tire shop, and then we got a air mattress. Then I hopped in the back. Then after driving for an hour, we arrived at the install location beach, which the Greek insider had told us about, but we ran into an issue, which is there were witnesses at the beach. But we looked at their license plates, and one was from Romania, one was from Ukraine, and the last one was from Poland, and so we thought it wasn't super likely the police showed up, but then 10 minutes later, the cops did show up. But then they just rolled down their window, and I nodded at them, and then they nodded back, and then they left, so I don't know what that was about. We quickly unloaded the sculpture in case they came back, but even with 4 of us, we weren't really able to lift it because it kept trying to tip over on us, and it was made worse by the fact that between us we had 1 pair of flip-flops, 1 pair of sandals, and 2 Crocs. So we just tried desperately to lift it up without crushing our feet underneath this 500-pound Squidward sculpture. And with 4 of us and our hands on the sculpture balancing it, we were just able to lift it.
How are they about to get this deep in the water, though? Because I'm like, they still need to, like, put this on a bow and then lift it off the boat and into the water without dropping it and breaking it once you put it in the water. Oh my gosh, this takes so much effort.
A couple inches off the ground and slowly moved it down the beach. And then we moved it into the water. Then we went back and grabbed all the flotation devices and attached it to the back of the sculpture. And while this was happening, the Greek insider was going and grabbing a boat for us. And so then we pushed over the sculpture and slowly lowered it down on top of the air mattress. Then we were able to swim the sculpture out to the boat, and then I hopped on top of the air mattress and tied a rope around it, and then we attached the rope to the boat so that we could drag it behind the boat to the final install location. But we ran into a problem, which was once we cut the rope, we were pretty sure that it was going to flip on its side, and we needed to figure out some way of having it land upright.
And not
But
break.
at this point, other boats were starting to arrive and sort of see what we were doing, and we just started having to move really fast. And so I swam down to check the depth, and then we just abandoned all hope and plan.
I think you just start cutting.
And just started cutting ropes randomly and praying that it would land upright.
Up.
after it was down there, we swam down and picked up all the straps and little pieces of stuff that had fallen. For how deep it is, I'm not totally sure. I think maybe 25, 30 feet, something like that. And the exact location is officially a secret because we have to get permission from anyone to do this. But if you're an avid geoguesser, then you're welcome to try to find it. And with Squidward safely at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea for future archaeologists to find and be confused by, we flew home and took delivery of the second sculpture, the above ground version of it, and we stuck it on a pallet rack and pushed it down the middle of the road past the very chill cop. And then we brought it to a photo studio about a quarter mile up the road from my art studio. And the way this is all working is the second above ground sculpture will be auctioned off on my website for $4,001. And I've also got these miniature versions as well if you want a small Squidward in your house. And what we're doing for these is we're just doing a limited time release. So for 2 weeks, they'll be available. Then after that, they'll be gone forever. So if you want one of those, go pick them up on my website. The last thing we did here was we laser engraved all the people from the foundry, their name, and my name's Honey Nobody, and Natty's name. And yeah, that's the whole project. Thanks for watching.
This was honestly a cool little video. I love how like my generation's cartoons are so held dear to us that like somebody went this far to make something from SpongeBob about Squidward and the specific face he had into a sculpture and dumped it into the ocean. Like, today's generation will never understand how magnificent cartoons was and how impactful it really was. They will never understand. They will never watch cartoons the way we did. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.